everybody, welcome to my channel. So this time something different from Battle Report. I wanted to do some kind of review about the upcoming balance update. It's going to be released in a couple of days, and I wanted to do something similar than that what other CE members also produce this last couple of days, which is covering some of the armies, some of the changes, and try to discuss them. And I thought since I play ID and OK, I might as well cover them because I have more knowledge about the army. I might be able to analyze more in depth these two armies than other armies. And also I wanted to have a look at the changes in the Arcane Compendium. So first of all, Arcane Compendium, we have a couple of changes. So we have a change here on Ranger boots. I had my eye on it because it was there was a possibility to boost some models, and I think that wasn't the intention to cover standard height models that were not infantry, obviously. For example, the Tauric Ritual option for the Inferno Drafts, you were able to get March 18, which I think was not the intention of this item. Rod of Battle is increased by 6, which is very nice. As you know, I played this item a lot with my Ogre Khan, and I think it might become more popular with this change, because 12 was kind of restrictive, but with 18 we can start to discuss. Vambrace needed a change because nobody was picking it. They changed it to End of Even, which is nice. I think it's just a normal version, so not the big one, but still a decent blast that can add something to a list, so why not. Essence of Free Mind remove Dominant, so you can get some new combination. I think it's just due to the fact that the item wasn't used enough. Redesign of the Crystal Ball, also an item that wasn't used at all, so I think this is smart to change it. The first disciplining attempt in each friendly magic phase get a +2. I think this is really strong because this allows you to be more secure when you try to dispel something and you know how the magic is built at the moment. When you dispel, what I do most of the time is focus on one spell. Sometimes you can dispel 2, but you really, most of the time, you try to pick the one that you don't want in the magic phase. So I think this is a very good new item to have better anti-magic, and I think that this was needed because before that we had only the old Crystal Ball was too specific, and MR is something, but it's not useful against all the spell, so we had only the Binding Scroll somehow. Crown of Autocracy, and this is huge, and I think also this is a very good change. So they redesign it. It's not anymore +1 leadership, meaning a lot of builds are not valid anymore. So we might see less in some armies, less mages that were able to get a higher leadership, like a fighty character, for example, like a shaman, get to +1 to be the general and also have a nice leadership. This won't be possible anymore. So I think this is good. The model gets commanding presence with a range to 3, so it can give leadership to some stuff, but it gets a completely other use within the army. Alchemy, so we go to the Path of Magic. We have a couple of changes. We have Rod of Iron, which is nerfed a little bit, so range 18. I think it was already 9+ to cast. So range 18, which is a reduction of 6. Why not? I'm not sure. Maybe it's to be more in line with other buffs that are more. 18 is like the common range for most of the buffs, so maybe that's due to that. Molten Gopper gets a slight increase in number of hits from D3 +3 to D3 +4. I think that was needed because the spell was moved to number 6, so not picked that much. We don't see so many master alchemy, so I think that is a good change. Then to Druidism, the attribute is only cast 1 per phase. I think this is pretty important. It's a nerf for Druidism, obviously. Healing Water gets an increase, which is nice. We know that for Druidism sometimes the range is a bit an issue. And Spirit of the Wood gets range 18, universal, so I don't remember exactly what is this spell. I think this is a spell where you are in the forest, so maybe it's a possibility to break some steadfast. If I'm not wrong, but I'm not 100% sure since I don't play this pass at all, so I don't know. No, non-augmented or cannot be cast into combat. Okay, so the boosted version, what I understand from this is that the boosted version can be cast in combat and is supposed to break some steadfast. I think that's the purpose of the change, but not 100% sure. That we have occultism. This was a big change that intrigued me a little bit because all I saw before that made sense to me, and this one, I think this is a boost. I know that from the discussion that we had with members of the 9th Age organization that were in charge of the balance update, they told us that they wanted to encourage a little bit more apprentice because we don't see a lot of them, which is fair and makes sense. But at the same time, Breath of Corruption is a strong spell, and putting it as a number 1, that's a bold statement. And we might see a couple of apprentices of occultism, I think, because this is quite strong. And also a small boost for the Crown of Wizard King. Rot Within gets +6, so that's nice. It was 18 before, maybe slightly short. Rot Within wasn't picked that much because it's very, very situational, but in some cases I found it an interesting spell, so definitely the +6 we might see it a little bit more. Pyro, so we have the change on the blaze, a reduction to strength 5 and an augmentation of the range, which makes sense. Embers get 9+ to cast, and Fireball replicable. That's nice. We might see a bit more of them. It might have an old feeling like the old ring that we had in the Arcane Compendium, where you could cast Fireball as a bounce spell. Evocation gets a boost on the dance, which makes sense. Definitely wasn't a spell that was picked a lot by Evocation Master, so I think this is good. Witchcraft, Twisted Effigy gets a small, I think it was a 5/7, and gets to 6/8. This was for me very cheap to cast before. This is a very good spell, useful in a lot of games, so definitely I understand the change. Cosmo, Ice and Fire gets +1 casting value, I guess, which I think if you pick Cosmo in 95% of the game as a master, you will pick it, and also as an adept it's often you see it, so this was definitely maybe the best, one of the best spell of the pass. So they put a slight increase. Maybe it was Cosmo is also picked a lot at the moment. We see it a lot with new Dread Elves, also vampires like it. So we see it in a couple of armies at the moment, so maybe that was the idea also, to nerf it slightly. And then we have Thaumaturgy, a redesign for speaking in tongue, that is also a spell that is very, very situational. Friendly, reroll Discipline, and enemy cannot roll Discipline. So basically it's no BSB or giving a BSB. Again, very situational. And then we have a couple of slight price changes in the item. We have Touch of Greatness, Supernatural, so I guess just a matter of the algorithm setting the items that weren't pick enough, and they just get a slight decrease, so -5. Basalt, definitely the ward save against fire needed some slight increase, so I think this makes sense. Stalker Discipline, this was also a surprise for me, because I think Discipline banner is very useful. Maybe they wanted to compensate a little bit the nerf due to the chronophotocracy. Maybe that was the idea. That's how I understand it. That's the only, because this to me was a little surprise. Crown obviously gets a huge reduction since it wasn't. It's a completely new design that is completely different and less powerful. Assassin of a Free Mind gets a -5, which is nice. We might see it a little bit more. Also with the fact that we get new prices on Apprentice. You will see Apprentice are cheaper. Adept remain more or less like before, and Master will be more expensive. Then we might see maybe a bit more free mind. Krone get -5, Van Brace -5, so change, redesign plus a reduction. We definitely might see it a little bit more. A Crystal Ball, which is now much better, gets up by 10, which makes sense. I think this is a fair price. MR2 was picked a lot of the time, so makes sense also to me. And Dragon's Staff isn't used much, so makes definitely sense. The price changes. Only Discipline banner was for me a strange decision, but I understand it as a way to compensate a little bit the loss of the old Crown of Autocracy. Then we move to the 2 army that I decided to cover. So first we have my Inferno Drafts, so my beloved Inferno Drafts, and then my beloved Arcane, I might say. So Inferno Drafts, I expected not so many changes since they have had an update. They are still in lab process. This lasted very long, but as you know, there were, I think, the first book to be in the current lab process. So this took a bit more time than the new book, which is totally understandable. But yeah, what can we say? I expected less changes because I thought they corrected already a lot with the last update. They put a couple of nerfs where they wanted to, but here, as you can see, they decided still to take it as an opportunity to rebalance stuff. So to have another update in between the whole process. So first of all, we get 0 to 2 on Seat of Authority. Was anybody playing more than 2? Don't think so, but yeah, why not? Giant, all of them get now must pick a weapon. I'm not sure I have seen anybody playing a giant without any weapon. So, but maybe it's just a way to, the way I understand it, it's just a way to give more flavor to giant and just make sure that they pick something. Price changes. So we have Onyx Core up by 10, makes sense, is a very good weapon, had some changes, which is now the fixed strength 6, which might be a bit more attractive for some of the character that we didn't see that often. Thinking about mounted Overlord, for example. So I think this is a positive change within the design that they did last time, but this also makes sense to increase it a little bit in price because I think this is taken more at the moment. Flame of the East is a good weapon as well, so the D3 metal shifting is strong, so +5 is not a problem, in my opinion, makes sense. This banner is, I don't like it, to be honest. It's very specific, so it makes sense, and it might drop further, I think, in the upcoming updates, maybe. Breath of the Brass Bull, this is an item that changed a lot between, I think, at some point it went down to 60 and then increased again. We had a lot of changes with it. Now it's 90, which is quite expensive, but it's still a very good item, giving you an extra health point and a toxic weapon. Overlord drop a little bit in points, which makes sense. I think is not picked that much, so I'm not surprised by that. Torque Ritual drop again. I think also this makes sense since Torque Ritual is only giving mobility, but you don't have any extra armor or stuff, so it's still pretty expensive for that. Then we have the change on the Prophet, and you will see for all the armies similar changes. So we have a drop of 15 for the Apprentice, and then we have +20 for the Adept, making it 5 points more expensive than before for the Adept version. But then the Master is up by 40, which makes it slightly more expensive than before, 25 more than before. So they want to see more Apprentice. They didn't want to nerf too much the Adept, and they wanted to see maybe a bit less of Master. So this is interesting. This is, I think, a very good change because Magic is quite strong in the game. We see a lot of Master, so I think this is very positive change and very smart. I didn't see it coming at all, so I think well done by the team here. Prophet of Ashur get up by 15. Yeah, this is a very good option that helps you to be very versatile. The seat, I expected it to increase. Obviously, this is a very strong choice that allows you to be in a lot of units, also to get cheap bunkers, to hide behind the Bastion. So this is a very good option. Then we have Luga that is up by 15. yeah, Lugar, as you know, it's giving you a bit more mobility, which is nice, but not the best thing. The best thing is the ward save, but yeah, it's get pretty expensive. Nezip cache as well, so meaning the 3 option where you're on foot, the 3 churches where you're on foot, get some good increase between 10 and 15. So this is an additional point increase that you need to include to the point of the prophet. Meaning if you go to a master Ashruk on a seat like before, you get plus, what did I say before? Plus 25 here, plus 15 here, which is 40, and plus 10, 50 points. So this is quite a lot of points that you can add to your old Ashruk guy on a seat of authority. Then you have the Bastion, yeah, as a mount or as a Bastion, it gets an increase in point, which makes sense. I think Bastion was a strong choice. On Bull of Shamut, Prophet, that was a curse for me that we see an increase. They maybe didn't want to see too much apprentice cowboys. They were scared of that, maybe. I don't know, but I think this is an option that is picked by many players. I play it, as you know, usually. Yeah, I love it. I think with an apprentice, this is going to be a decent choice, because for 310, then you add small stuff, maybe to 340, you get a 2-up, 5-up with a good spell. For example, you get the Apprentice of Occultism. I think this is a decent cowboy for not too heavy price, so maybe they were scared of that. Vizier augment by 5. Why? Don't know. Torque Ritual gets down by 5. Okay. Yeah, that's very small adjustment. Seat of Authority plus 15, which is a lot for the BSB. But yeah, I think this is similar to the extra health point also matters a lot. I think it matters more for the Prophet, so I would have expected the Prophet to go up by 60 and the Vizier to stay somewhere near 50 or maybe 55, but I would have expected the opposite, to be honest. And then the Vizier of Bull of Shamut, small decrease, but yeah, actually if you see base cost increase, so there is no change on the old price with Torque Ritual, which is an option that wasn't taken much, and same goes for Bull of Shamut. So yeah, we saw some of them, but without the BSB option maybe. Bastion, yeah, I guess goes down by 5, but doesn't make a change because of the new price. Then you have the Commissioner that gets a couple of increase. I think here that is a typo. I think it was already 5 points. So shield goes up, infernal weapon goes down. Okay. And then we have the Conjurer that has a similar treatment to what you saw before. So minus 15 and then plus 20 for the Adept. So this is getting standard overall. Then we have our Infernal Warrior. We didn't see much of the big unit without the shooting version. So they decreased slightly, but as you can see, the blunderbuss version gets up by 2 points. So this is a nerf that was expected. I think this was a unit that was picked a lot within core. Other than that, we don't see any changes in core, which surprised me a little bit. I would have expected a price decrease for the Citadel Guards, to be honest. Immortal, and maybe even for the Warrior in the biggest unit with great weapon, I would have expected something. Immortal gets a slight decrease. Okay, I think we don't see a lot of them on the table. Lugar gets some nice decrease. This is something they want to encourage a bit more of big unit of Lugar. So yeah, this is going to maybe matter. Incarnate, base cost decrease, additional model increase. Okay, doesn't change much. Chariot goes up by 10. Yeah. I think this was a fair price already, so didn't expect that, to be honest. Anointed, they took a good nerf the last time, especially the bigger unit. Now they decided to nerf a bit the base cost of them. So I think, yeah, I still rate them pretty highly. That's one of the units that I always liked in the book. I think this is a good unit, so I can live with this new price. And paired weapon gets also some price now. This is fair. The gunnery gets down, yet it's picked by nobody at the moment, I guess. And then the Inferno Artillery, we have a plus 20 on Titan Mortar and plus 10 on Rocket, which is something significant. Obviously, Titan Mortar is the very good option because it's good in all the matchups, always useful. So it's picked quite a lot by the player as an option for the artillery. So this is no big surprise to me. Rocket battery was already kind of expected and not so easy to use, but I guess this is mostly data driven. Then you have the engine, drops by 10, but some of the option increase slightly, so naphtha and rock. And then, meaning Titan Mortar and rocket battery option are going to be 10 points cheaper, which is nice. A Bastion, go up by 15, like the mount version. And now we have the Titan, and this hurts, as you can see. So the base cost, the shooty version is going to be slightly cheaper. 420 is not that expensive. But then the close combat version is up by 35, which is huge but expected. This is a very strong monster, and I think a lot of the people complain about him, so this is no big surprise for me that he goes up. And then we have our giant to finish the list. That goes down by 10, and some of the options get either up to compensate that, okay, or decrease, and giant club didn't move, okay, fair. I think this is a fair price. He's a good giant, so it's expected that he's a bit more expensive because he has a good arm save. So overall, Inferno Drafts, what can I say? Maybe I expected something to encourage a bit more bigger unit of enforcers. I think we don't see a lot of them. Infantry in special, I think Lugar, this was needed. Immortal, maybe even a bit more decrease would have been needed to encourage them slightly more. And then the core section, like I said, Flintlock are still a bit too expensive. Generally speaking, Citadel Guards I think are a bit too expensive at the moment. And maybe something to encourage the bigger unit of Great Weapon, Inferno Warrior would have been nice. I think that's something additional that I would have liked to see, but overall I think most, if not almost all of the changes make sense to me, so fair. Then we have the Ogre Khan, my second army, as you know, the one that I play since most of the time. Actually, at my home I have 2 armies of Ogre Khan, so that's just a way of saying to you that I really love this faction. One army wasn't enough, I decided to make a second one because I love this faction. So Ogre Khan, we have Old Master going down by 5. Is it going to matter? Wasn't picked at all. I think Old Master, I would have liked to see a design change where we don't limit the fact that you can pick an enchantment for the weapon. I think this is the main reason why we don't see more Old Master. If they don't redesign it, I would have expected to drop more in points. At Hunter, -5, fair. Kagadai gets a -10, nice, we might see a bit more of them. Viper Curse picked a lot, +5. What I expected with Ogre Khan, as you saw at ETC this summer, we had a lot of the list which were mercenaries, a block with a Great Khan, and then Frost Mammoth and some stuff. Often at least a cannon. This was like the standard list. This is something I played at ETC, like you saw, and this was the standard list. We had some small variation. Some of people obviously played something completely different, but this is a list that worked really well. I found strong, very stable, a very good list. So I expected to see some nerfs on this archetype of the Ogre Khan, because I think this is one of the best concepts that we saw this year, and that's why also most of the people that play Ogre Khan at ETC picked it. So we see here the first sign of it with Viper going up by 5, Karkaden -5, okay, makes sense, not pick a lot. Liger is a very good item, up by 10, this is expected. Rock Chime, expected. Pennant of Grasscry, almost, in in a lot of the Ogre Khan list you will see that, so this definitely makes sense. Mammoth Hunter paired weapon, as you saw with the switch in the old Arcane Compendium when we had the redesign, I think this was last year, we had access now with Mammoth Hunter to Essence of Mithril, Destiny's Call, which are very good option to take because they are cheaper than the other option that we saw before. Definitely they are not so well armored than before, the Mammoth Hunter, because before you saw a lot, like Iron Fist, Troll Eater, Rampage Chain, and the Restless Belt, for example, to have 2 up, 4 up. And then we saw a little bit of also Death Cheater to have like 3 up, 4 up. So we saw a lot of very high armored and expensive hunter, and since they went up in point last year, we see a bit more of cheapest option. That's also something that I picked, like Destiny's Call or SS of Mithril plus Talisman of Shielding, and then obviously you pick pet weapon. So this totally makes sense. Tusker is never picked, like in no list, because if you pick a Tusker, basically you have no special deployment. So this is huge, because this is really what makes Mammoth Hunter very attractive. So I think this is not going to be picked much more, and the same goes for Rock. Definitely very hard to price, very hard to find a role for it. I don't see many reason to pick him instead of a normal Rock, for example. Shaman took the similar treatment to what you saw in all of the books. Bruiser gets a small decrease in price for the big unit, which is nice. Scrapping bows, okay, this is like, yeah, nice, but won't change a lot. Tribesman, so the bigger unit in core gets a small decrease, which is nice, okay. This surprised me a little bit. Mercenary starting costs, so apparently, according to the data that we have, we didn't see a lot of 3-man mercenaries veteran. Okay, I can understand that, but then I would have expected maybe the bigger unit to go up in price to compensate that. I think that's something I expected, so this is a pleasant surprise for me. Great weapon goes down, makes sense, because this is maybe the worst. Yeah, this is the worst option that you can pick for the mercenaries, because you like to have a bit more agility with them and to strike first because they cause so many hits. Then Iron Fist goes up by 2, makes sense. This is one of the best option, and obviously the best option, Ogre Pistol, go up by 3, which is not a lot, because if you check the 6-man unit that I played this year at ETC, goes down by 10, but goes up by 3 times 6, 18. So it only goes up by 8. I definitely expected some more nerfs on the unit, on the shooty version, because it's good from range, it's good in combat. So yeah, this is a surprise for me. I expected them, especially the extra model, to get an extra point. That's really something expected. I don't know if the Ogre Pistol need to go higher than 25. This seems already quite expensive, but a fair price. But I think the extra model could have go a bit higher, I think. Wouldn't have been a scandal in my opinion, but pleasant surprise. Saber-tooth Tigers go up by 5. Okay, makes sense. Trappers, additional model, yeah, we don't see that at all. So -2 makes sense. Tusker, an option that we don't see a lot. I like this unit, but I didn't play it since a long time. So this is a good surprise. I think we go towards the right direction, and I really want to try them again with this price. Additional model as well, so nice. Bombardier, they went down in price last year at the update, I still remember. We didn't saw too much of them, but they are really decent, and now they go down again by 5, so we definitely, I think this year, are going to see more of them. Frosty expected a nerf, so they put +5 on the base cost and decided to put 10 on the Orc crossbow. This is a strange way to do it, but why not? I expected only a nerf on the base cost, because you can still pick Hunting Spear, which is a decent choice, and only have a +5 on the price, which is not too much. But I don't know if you think about the star list that we saw at ETC with the Blues block plus the Mercenary block and the Frosty. I think mostly I would have expected changes in the bigger Mercenary unit. I think that's where I expected to see more of an F instead of the Frosty, because the Frosty, I think we didn't saw him a lot before, and then thanks to the popularity of shooty Mercenary due to the meta and to the unit being good against monster, being good in combat, we saw more Frost Mammoth. So I think this is linked to the Mercenaries mostly. So I definitely expected something more here, this is something okay for me. A Rock goes down, expected, we didn't see a lot of them. So this is a nice. And then the Slave Giant, couple of changes. The Regret Weapon, which is the best option, go up by 5. And Iron Fist go down by 5, which is a very cheap option and still a decent choice. Very cheap giant, so this is a little bit of a surprise. I would have expected to remain the same, but maybe it wasn't big enough. So yeah, nice. What can I say generally speaking about Arcane? Yeah, I said it before, but I expected a bit more nerfs on the Merc Vets bigger unit. But why not? They must have a reason and data behind it to have make this change for the Merc Vets. So they have a slight nerf, but not too much. I expected maybe slightly more. But yeah, overall I think some good changes that make sense. I have to say, yeah, most of the changes make sense. Some small surprises, but nothing, no scandal here. So that's it, guys. I hope you like to have this small teaser or spoiler about two of the armies that are going to be updated. Thanks a lot for watching, and talk to you soon on the channel. Bye bye.